Building your own table, the power of authentic leadership. Have you ever found yourself waiting for an invitation to a table where decisions are made, a place where your voice could finally be heard? I want you to imagine something with me for a moment. What if the invitation you're waiting for is actually one you need to write yourself? I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Jacquelyn Bhones, whose insights have transformed how I think about leadership, authenticity, and creating spaces of belonging. What struck me most about our conversation wasn't just her wisdom, but how she embodies the very principles she advocates for. Jacqueline has dedicated her life to empowering others to recognize their inherent value and create their own opportunities rather than waiting for permission. Her work has literally transformed thousands of lives, particularly for women of color navigating spaces not designed with them in mind. The truth is, we live in a world obsessed with exclusive tables, corporate boardrooms, executive suites, VIP sections, places where access is limited and invitations are scarce. But what Jacqueline taught me, and what I want to share with you today, is that the most powerful tables aren't the ones we're invited to, they're the ones we build ourselves. Let me tell you about Ella Baker. In the 1960s, when the civil rights movement was dominated by charismatic male leaders giving thunderous speeches from pulpits and podiums, Ella Baker was doing something entirely different. She wasn't interested in the spotlight. She didn't need her name in headlines. Instead, she moved quietly through communities, organizing at the grassroots level, empowering ordinary people to become extraordinary leaders. Strong people don't need strong leaders, she would say. It's a statement that would make most leadership consultants choke on their coffee, isn't it? While others fought for positions at established tables of power, Baker was busy building new ones, tables where everyone had a voice, where leadership was collective rather than hierarchical. When she helped found the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, she didn't position herself as its head. She didn't demand the corner office or the reserved parking space. Instead, she created a structure where young activists could develop their own leadership skills. She understood something profound that Jacqueline echoes today. Extraordinary impact often emerges from the most ordinary places when people act with genuine intent and self belief. Think about that for a moment. The most significant movements in history didn't begin with people who had access to power. They began with people who recognized their own power and used it where they stood. But let's be honest, building your own table isn't easy. It's much more comfortable to wait for an invitation to someone else's. After all, their table is already built. The chairs are arranged. The place settings are perfect. All you have to do is show up and fit in, and therein lies the problem. Fitting in often requires leaving pieces of yourself at the door. It demands a kind of conformity that can slowly erode who you really are. It's like showing up to a formal dinner in a tuxedo only to realize you've left your personality in the car. I'm reminded of something Jacqueline emphasized in our conversation. Authenticity is your greatest asset. Dr. Johnetta B. Cole understood this principle deeply. As one of the few Black women leading major academic institutions, she faced immense pressure to assimilate, to play by established rules, to be grateful just for having a seat. But Dr. Cole recognized a profound truth that her value wasn't in her ability to blend in, but in her unique perspective and authentic voice. Instead of simply climbing the ladder of success, Dr. Cole embraced the philosophy of lifting as we climb. As president of both Spelman College and later Bennett College, she didn't just break barriers for herself, she created pathways for countless others. She understood that true empowerment isn't about individual achievement, it's about collective progress. Her career path was shaped by choosing mentorship over competition, a deliberate act of building inclusive spaces for growth rather than exclusive clubs for the privileged few. She broke barriers while mentoring countless future leaders, creating a model that has inspired widespread adoption among Black professionals to focus on creating their own spaces rather than fitting into existing ones. When I asked Jacqueline about this approach, she nodded knowingly. Empowerment, she said, comes from within, but it grows when we share it with others. It's like planting a garden instead of fighting over the last apple at the market. This brings me to something I've been thinking about a lot lately. We often talk about representation as if simply having diverse faces at existing tables is enough. But what if the tables themselves are the problem? What if they were designed for exclusivity rather than inclusion? What if they were built to maintain systems rather than transform them? Consider Deborah Enox Ross, who rose to prominence in law by refusing to compromise her identity as a Black woman professional in corporate legal environments where blending in was considered necessary for advancement, where success often meant speaking, dressing, and thinking like everyone else. Enox Ross chose radical transparency about her background and values. From early in her career, facing bias and exclusion, she committed to never losing sight of who she was, even when it meant standing alone. Rather than waiting for the legal profession to make space for her authentic self, she created that space through her excellence and integrity. The result? She didn't just succeed despite her authenticity, she succeeded because of it. Her unique perspective became her strength. Her different voice became her power. By staying true to herself, she became not only successful, but highly respected across diverse professional networks, as well as an inspiration for aspiring minority lawyers seeking permission to be themselves at work. When I shared this story with Jacqueline, she pointed out something profound. Notice how these women didn't just build tables for themselves, they built tables with room for others. It's like the difference between building a private dining room and creating a community kitchen. That's the thing about authentic leadership. It's never just about you. It's about creating spaces where others can show up fully as themselves too. I'm reminded of a quote from Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman elected to Congress. If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. But Jacqueline takes this further. Don't just bring a chair, build a better table. A table that's round instead of rectangular, a table where everyone can see each other's faces, a table where no one sits at the head because everyone leads in their own way. Now, I can almost hear what some of you are thinking. That sounds great for exceptional people like Ella Baker, Dr. Cole, and Deborah Enox Ross, but I'm just ordinary. Let me stop you right there. The most extraordinary impact often comes from ordinary places, from ordinary people who refuse to wait for permission to make a difference, from ordinary moments when someone decides, if not me, then who? If not now, then when? Jacqueline emphasized this repeatedly in our conversation. Greatness isn't about having access to established power. It's about recognizing the power you already have exactly where you are. Think about it this way. Every major movement, every significant change, every new table that's ever been built began with someone who could have waited but chose to act instead. The civil rights movement wasn't just Martin Luther King Jr. giving speeches. It was thousands of ordinary people sitting at lunch counters, boarding buses, marching in streets, building new tables of justice and equality in their communities. The women's suffrage movement wasn't just Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. It was countless women in towns and cities across America gathering in living rooms, writing letters, organizing their neighbors, building new tables of political participation. And today, the most important movements for justice and equality aren't just happening in halls of power. They're happening in community centers, in classrooms, in places of worship, in social media groups, wherever ordinary people are building new tables of belonging. This is what Jacquelyn wants us to understand. You don't need to be exceptional to make an exceptional difference. You just need to be authentically you, acting with purpose where you stand. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you build your own table, when you create spaces aligned with your values where others can belong, something magical happens. You discover that the power you've been seeking was within you all along, like Dorothy and Oz. You had the ruby slippers the whole time. You just didn't know how to use them. This isn't just inspirational talk, this is practical reality. When Dr. Cole focused on lifting as we climb rather than individual achievement, she didn't just help others, she transformed entire institutions. When Deborah Enix Ross refused to compromise her identity, she didn't just preserve her authenticity, she changed perceptions of what leadership could look like. And when Ella Baker empowered young activists to lead themselves, she didn't just step back from the spotlight. She created a model of leadership that continues to influence movements for justice today. This is the profound insight Jacquelyn shared with me. Building your own table isn't just an alternative when you can't get invited to existing ones. It's often a better path altogether for you and for the world. So here's my challenge to you today, a challenge that demands courage, that requires you to see yourself as not just a guest, but as a builder. Stop waiting for permission to matter. Stop hoping for an invitation to a table that wasn't built for you. Instead, gather your materials, your unique perspectives, your authentic voice, your genuine passion, and start building. Your table might start small. It might just be you and a few trusted allies. But as you build with integrity, as you lead with authenticity, as you create space for others to do the same, your table will grow. And unlike those exclusive tables you once longed to join, yours will be stronger because of its diversity, more creative because of its inclusivity, more impactful because of its authenticity. Remember what Ella Baker knew, what Dr. Cole practiced, what Deborah Enix Ross embodied, and what Jacquelyn Bhones teaches us today. The world doesn't need more people who fit in. It needs more people who stand out by standing up for what they believe in. So build your table, make it beautiful, make it strong, make it uniquely yours. And when others come, and they will come, welcome them not as guests, but as fellow builders of a world where everyone belongs. Because in the end, the most powerful invitation isn't one you receive, it's one you write yourself and then extend to others. Thank you.